Pass Around the Smile is like your go-to friend, the one that lifts you up and backs you till the end. She's there to guide and inspire, challenge and teach, and remind you that your best self isn't out of reach. Self-development, manifestation, self-love and more, it's time to trust the process more than ever before. Welcome to Pass Around the Smile, the podcast. I'm your host, Cleo Massey, and I am so glad you're here. Let the magic begin. Hello everyone, and welcome to another very exciting episode of the Pass Around the Smile podcast. So a few months back, I had put an intention out to the universe that I wanted a healing experience with someone who could help me feel more connected to myself and my baby. I really had no idea who this person was or how it would come about, but I just trusted that something would come. Being a little bit intuitive and really into spirituality myself, I will admit I've become a little bit picky with healers, psychics, etc. But then Kylie reached out to me and everything inside me screamed, yes, oh my God. Thank you, universe. After reading the reviews on her site, I was absolutely in. We jumped on a Zoom as Kylie is in New Zealand, and I had the most amazing session with her. I thought I just have to get her on the podcast. I know my community will love her. So Kylie is an intuitive healer and psychic medium using Reiki, energy healing, applied kinesiology, chakra balancing, auric clearing, and readings to help you on your healing journey. She helps you rediscover yourself, your passion, your energy and divine self. She can help you dig deep to let go of the things that are no longer serving you or that are keeping you from your highest and best self. My session with Kylie was specifically around my pregnancy and connecting with my spirit babies, which was just so wild. We will definitely touch on Kylie's ability to connect with spirit babies because it's super interesting, but we will also be chatting about her experiences as an intuitive healer and psychic medium just in general as well. I do want to just let you know we do touch on miscarriage and stillbirth in this episode quite quickly. I did just want to give you a heads up though for those who might be triggered by that little section today. Let's get into the chat with Kylie. Hello, Kylie, and welcome to the Pass Around the Smile podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I feel like I'm more excited because I just think you're so amazing. So as I mentioned in my intro, we had a little session. Was it in December? It was...
December, November?
It was a while ago now. And it was just the most incredible session that helped me feel so much more connected to myself and my baby and just everything. You gave me so much guidance. And really, when I hung up the call, I was like, oh my God, this lady knows what she's doing.
Oh, yeah, that's lucky.
So I thought we might start with kind of the spirit baby side of things, but I do want my listeners to know this podcast isn't going to be all about spirit babies. If you're not interested in pregnancy or babies, there's going to be some really exciting stuff in like the second half. So don't fret. It's not all about this, but because this was my experience with you to begin with, I thought we'd start on it. But maybe you can actually just start with telling us what is a spirit baby? What are they?
Yeah, so a spirit baby is quite literally that. It's a baby in spirit. I guess when I say spirit baby, I'm also referring to babies that maybe are waiting to come to earth and they haven't kind of been brought through yet, or they haven't decided to come in yet. Also babies that have passed, so again through like miscarriages, loss, even little babies that have maybe not had a full life, and also babies that are around us and for whatever reason are not coming through. So that might be, usually it's because we've decided that, that's it. I'm only going to have 2 children. I don't want to have any more than that. And so I kind of connect to all of those spirit babies, but it's it's a baby in spirit, essentially, a little soul that I connect with.
It just makes me feel so emotional. I don't know if that's because I'm pregnant but just a little spirit baby soul is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
So how do you see these spirit babies? Are they like an energy or a color or an actual baby?
Yeah, so a lot of the time, so for me, when I connect into like spirit to source and that kind of stuff, I see and hear in my head, which sounds really bizarre to a lot of people. And it's usually not my voice in my head. So again, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, are you a bit
Wow.
crazy? But I can, yeah, I get this like image, and physically I can feel like people around, and I'll get like the sense of someone standing, or again, if I can feel someone there, and then in my head they'll kind of show me who it is, or what they look like some of the time. Other times I won't see, and they're literally just talking to me, which is quite special. Sometimes I'll hear it, again, mostly in my head, but other times I will hear it in my ear. Usually if it comes into my actual ear, it's because I'm not listening like properly, or I'm not not quite listening to what
Ah.
they're saying, and they get a little bit annoyed with me, and they're like,
They're
come
like,
on.
Kylie, listen.
Yeah, you're not getting it. Yeah, so that's kind of how I see them. Quite often as well, when I connect to like spirit babies, I see love, like this beautiful, and feel it too, but this beautiful energy, and it's just so pure and so light, and it's just, yeah, it's really beautiful.
That is so beautiful. And do you have to really tune in to see these spirit babies, or could you be, for example, and I guess this doesn't just go for spirit babies, spirits like in
Mhm.
any nature, or are you like walking in the shopping center and you just see them randomly, or do you have to choose to kind of tune in?
I set specific boundaries around that kind of stuff, so that when I'm out and
Mm,
about, I'm focused on what I'm doing. If it's someone
yeah.
that I might know, so I've connected to them before or spoken to them before, and I've had this happen with a friend. Actually, she was doing my makeup for my birthday last year, and I was just like, "You've got a little baby, like a little boy, just running around. Did you know that?" And she's like, "Oh, we've been trying to fall pregnant, and we were thinking about it, and now we're not sure." And I was like, "Well, he's there." Yeah, and now she's pregnant. She's actually about to, I think she's due next week or the week after. So yeah, that's really
Oh,
exciting. So
that's
for
so
that kind of
special.
thing, yeah, yeah, which is
Okay.
really cool.
And for me, when we had our session, you mentioned that
Mm,
I had 4 spirit babies and that one
mm,
of them was actually a grandchild, which was really cool.
yes, yeah.
So first of all, maybe like what's with the grandchild already being there? Like what is that?
Yeah. So usually that's because they're like, no, we're already connected. Like, we know we're going to be coming through you, and we know you're going to be having children. So
Yeah.
I know that I'm joining. And it's like, well, I'm just going to hang here. For spirit, like, time doesn't exist. So a
Ah.
blink of an eye would be 1,000 years. Whereas for us, obviously, that is a very long amount of time. And so for
Oh.
them, they can be here and know, or there and know what's going to happen already. And so they're like, well, I'll just hang here. And so I'll just let you know that I'm going to be your grandchild. And yeah,
Oh.
hi. Just saying hello. And yeah,
Wow. Oh, it's so cool.
yeah.
And just for my listeners, so you guys know, when I had my session with Kylie, it was so cool because Kylie's like talking to me and engaging with me, but then all of a sudden she would kind of like look up and start giggling and get these messages from my spirit babies who would tell her this information that she would then pass on to me. And it was just so real. Like it just felt so real. So that's like my listeners might be wondering, how do you actually work when you do a
Mm.
session? But I thought that was cool because you just start like giggling and you just be like, uh-huh, okay. And then you'd tell me this really cool message that like could not be made up.
Yeah, I think when people haven't had a session too, and I'm sitting here and I say thank you a lot as well when I'm talking to spirit, and so most people are like, why does she say thank you to that? Why does she keep saying thank you? And I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm connecting and I'm talking out loud, even though you can't hear them talking to me. It's like, sorry, that
Yes.
probably looks a little crazy, but
And so with my other 3 spirit babies, which obviously
mm,
the 4th was a grandchild,
yes.
if like Luke and I, for example, say not to go for that 3rd child just because I like right
Hmm.
now I've had such a hard pregnancy, I don't know if I can do it 3 times.
Yeah.
What
Hmm.
would happen to that other spirit baby? Because it kind of makes me feel sad. I'm like, oh, I can't
Yeah.
just leave it there. Like, is it
Yeah.
meant for me? What? Yeah.
So a lot of the times, if we decide not to have a baby that's there, and we very much can, we have free will. So even though these babies are there waiting, we have that free will to choose whether to actually bring them through or not. They then decide whether it's or they are going to come through. So that might be they jump into, again, they might come through as another grandchild. They may come through someone that you're really close to as their baby so that they're still connected to you.
Wow.
Sometimes they will just wait until you return to them. So again, because time doesn't exist for them, it's like, oh, well, you know, she's coming back real soon, so it doesn't really matter. So for them, it's like, and yeah, thank you. And for them, they're also very much connected to you anyway. So they're like, doesn't really matter if I'm on earth or in spirit because I'm with you regardless. I think a lot of that depends on their own soul journey and their own soul path and whether they kind of have to be on earth in a specific time period within our kind of time, or if they can kind of wait until, yeah, again, time doesn't exist for them. So they're like, well, it doesn't matter what year I come. So yeah, but if they're like, no, I have a specific mission or something that I've got to achieve in, I don't know, 2026. So I'm going to find a way if it's
then
not
it will
through
happen.
you type thing. But yeah, but it's always someone close.
Yeah, wow. That was the most beautiful answer. I actually wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting to be like, I need to have this baby.
That's it. They're gone now. Or, yeah, no, you have to have this baby.
Yeah, because I couldn't just leave it there.
Yeah. And sometimes they will obviously find ways to slip on in. Yeah. So,
which, you know, who knows? We could be talking in a few years and I have 3. So,
yeah. I'm always like, if you really don't want to have another, and I know that there's one there, be very careful.
Yeah. Literally, yeah, and I feel that too. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Wow. But that was what an enlightening answer. And what I loved so much about that was that the time doesn't exist for them. Like that is just so reassuring, and that they already feel connected, whether they're earth side or not. Like, and how beautiful. I hope that's really reassuring for people as well who maybe have had miscarriages or, you know, stillborns. Yeah. So what is that a kind of a similar thing there? Because I know that, you know, that just must be so hard, and if spiritually if you're connected.
Yeah, definitely. So very much so the way that I see it, or have kind of been told and shown, is our souls don't actually properly stay in our body until that moment of birth. So when you're pregnant, your baby will pop in and out. Like, they're not physically tethered. They can still float around and visit whoever up there, do what they want kind of thing. And they'll still sometimes pop in and be like, oh yeah, this is cool. I'm so excited. Can't wait for this. And then again, they'll pop out and be like, oh yeah, cool, I can see me and mum down there and I'm just waiting. With miscarriages, so it's the same thing, like their soul's still there and they're still kind of waiting. A lot of the time I see with miscarriages or stillbirth and things like that the baby does tend to want to come back. Now that will very much depend on, again, that baby's I guess soul path. For instance, that might have just been what they needed, what they were coming to do, and that will do a lot with their soul path, but also with the mother's soul path. So it might be that the mother kind of, I don't want to say signed up for, because it always sounds like, why would I sign up for this kind of thing? But it's almost like a little life lesson in order that for your soul to evolve and to grow through and to move through. But yeah, that baby, I would probably say 8 out of 10 babies that I've kind of spoken to who have been lost, who haven't made it fully to earth and that kind of thing, they're coming back. So, and I have firsthand knowledge of this. So we lost a baby halfway through the pregnancy in 2019, and I knew it was a girl. I had connected to her. I connect to all of my babies before they come through. And then when we lost her, I was just like, oh my God, like, felt like obviously the world was ending. without her loss, I wouldn't be here now, because she's kind of what started me on my path. So I know that without that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So I'm so grateful for that. And I always knew she would come back. And then literally, so she was born on the 1st of the 11th, so 111 on 2019. And then the 1st of the 11th of 2020, I had my positive pregnancy test with her again. So she came back 1 year. Yeah. So I was just like, yeah. And I was probably 5 days before testing, really, and woke up and we were going down to the beach to like celebrate her and everything. And I was like, I just kept hearing, take a test. I'm like, I don't know that I want to. Like, this is terrifying. What if it's negative? And then I'm going to have like an even worse day. And then I got the positive test and I was like, okay, that brought me some calm and some peace on that day instead. And I was just like, okay, thank you. And yeah, that was her little gift. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And now she's 2.5 and crazy. Yeah.
I have got goosebumps. Like, oh wow.
Yeah.
That is so special. And I really hope that is, reassuring for some women to hear, because wow. Thank you for sharing that. That is really magical.
Oh, no worries.
Wow. And when you're, just out of curiosity, when you have been pregnant in the past, you obviously, like, you already knew she was a girl, like, because you were connected to her spiritually. Do you ever find out the sex from like the doctors, or do you just like, you're like, I know, so
every single time I'm like, I need that confirmation, I'm just gonna double check, and then I'm like, okay, good, I was right, because I've already started buying clothes and everything, and so getting that confirmation, I'm like, okay, cool, I don't need to go and like scrap all of that and change all of the wardrobe, and so no, and I'm a little bit of, I like that control piece too. So I'm like, cool, now I know I can, play.
Oh, that's so funny. I know when you and I were having our session and I was like, we're not finding out. Like, obviously, like, I know you know what's in my belly, but I was like, you can't say.
I'm like, he, she, okay.
Oh my gosh. So, and what would you, I'm sure you've had so many women come to you who either do want, or have you ever had people that have come to you that do want babies and you don't see a spirit baby there, or vice versa? If they don't want babies and they do have spirit babies there, does that happen?
I have never had a person come through that's wanting a baby that's not had one there.
Wow.
At least one there. Never. I kind of work with the feeling that, thank you, that if you feel called to wanting a baby or having a baby, if you're interested in finding out more, that's because you intuitively already know that there's one there. Like, you're connecting it on that kind of soul level of yourself. I definitely have had people coming through, not necessarily for spirit baby readings, but for other readings that have had babies there, but they don't want any more, or they don't want any at all. Okay. And again, if I let them know, maybe they have asked, even though they know they don't want them. Again, I just say to them, that's 100% your choice. You're allowed to choose that. And again, they will find their way somehow to you, or wait for you to return. So it's always, I think that's quite reassuring to those women, that even though they've chosen that and they're very happy with that decision, that's still like, I think some people will still carry a little bit of guilt around it. And so knowing that, they're like, okay, cool, that's good, I'm good with my decision again. And I think it can be really helpful.
Yeah, of course. I was going to ask, like, what would you kind of say to women who are unsure if they want babies or not? Because that is such a big thing, like, and it is such a big life-changing decision to make. And I have friends that are just like, I'm just not sure. What would you say to them, like, as advice?
So the biggest thing I would say is trust yourself and your own intuition. So, and I'll give you an example, because I went through this exact same thing with my second baby. So we had our first, and then there was complications and stuff with my endo surgery after that and things like that, and we were told to wait probably another 2 years. So My daughter was about 4 years old, and we're like, my husband's like, right, we should start trying again now. Like, at the time's passed, we can try. And I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like, she's 4 now, you know, we're kind of in this good space. There's no more nappies. We're sleeping.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I was just like, I just don't know that I want any more. And he's like, well, you know, it's your decision. I want one, but I'm going to support you. And I was like, okay, cool. But
Good man.
every time I would be like, yeah, he's amazing. Every time that I was like, oh, no, I don't think so. I think we'll just stay like this. I would come back around. So the question would pop up time and time again until I said yes. And then there was no more question. And so I was like, okay, so if you keep coming back to it, it's because the original answer, or the thing that you keep thinking, which is usually no, you know that's actually not what you want. Like, you do want it, and it's usually fear that is holding you back from tapping into that. So yeah, doing some work around, I guess, releasing fear and things like that, and not specifically around having children, but just in your life generally, that can help bring you a little bit more clarity too. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And I guess with your example, it's like you were holding on to that resistance because you were like, I don't know, like the fear, like as you said. And as soon as that yes came, it was like, oh my God, like I just needed to let go of resistance. Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I kind of left it up to baby too. And I was like, okay, we're going to try. And I was like, you've got like literally 1 month. And I was like, I'm saying yes, let's do it. And he was literally here that month. I was like, okay, cool. meant to be. Yeah.
So let's move away from the spirit baby side of things just for a little bit. You kind of mentioned before that as an intuitive and as a psychic, you can kind of set boundaries and turn it on and off. Has there been a time where like things just keep coming to you, but you're like, no, I want to like rest, or I don't want to know? How does that kind of work for you?
Yeah. So very early on, I would very much have things pop in, or spirit pop in very often. And it was always a bit draining, and I had to learn to set boundaries around that. So for instance, at home, when I'm not working, I set the boundary that no spirit are allowed. Apart from like maybe a few family members will drop in every now and then. My kids see them, but I have a very firm boundary around spirit during the night because it upsets sleep. So I'm like, no, like that's non-negotiable. You're not allowed during then. When I'm out and about, so I used to get psychic hits all the time, or like little messages popping in, and you very much have to, even though these messages are coming through and it's probably for a complete stranger, you have to be very aware that not everyone's going to be receptive to something like that. A lot of people won't believe in it or think you're like really crazy and things like that. So a little bit then you kind of have to go on your own intuition. Probably 9 times out of 10, I'm like, okay, look, if you want them to hear that message, you're going to have to try and find a way to bring them into me at some point or something like that, because I'm like, I don't feel comfortable
just going
at the
up
petrol
to
station, just staring to, like, talking to this random man who maybe is on a bicycle. I've had this happen, like, you know, the gang's jacket and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to randomly go up to this man and tell him that his dead grandma's like saying hello, or that she wants him to be careful on the motorbike. I'm just like, no, I'm sure he's careful enough. Just things like that. So I think you have to use your own judgment there. And same with, I guess, world stuff. So quite often that will drop on in. And thank you. I very often have to be like, some of it I'm happy to like listen to and see what's happening and things like that. Other times I'm like, I don't know that I want to know that specifically. Like, I can feel like that might instill some fear in others. So my boundary with that is you guys can drop that in. If I feel like it's going to instill fear in people, I won't share.
Yeah, I love that.
I might tell a couple of people here and there, but otherwise I'm just like, no, that's just a boundary again that I won't. I'm here more for the just sharing love and stuff and helping. So I'm like, oh, cool. You let me know, but
you get to choose what you do with that information. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, that's so nice to hear. And then on the opposite end of the scale with the guy with the motorbike, has there ever been a time where something has come to you and you actually have gone up to someone? Like you just have to? Yeah.
Probably not a random stranger, because I tend to be a little bit more, I guess, introverted myself when I'm out and about, and that's probably a lot to do with the amount of energy that I feel, and like everyone's energies when I'm out. So I'm just like, I'll just be in my little bubble here, and again, I tend to set strong boundaries around myself, so place a protective bubble or whatever it is when I'm out and about. But there has been instances for friends or, not even close friends, just an acquaintance that I've had to say, you need to look into this. I had one, I didn't really know her. I knew of her. I had met her a couple of times, but like we weren't friends or anything. And I had to send her a message and say, you need to get, like, she'd been telling a friend of ours about some issues she'd been having in her body. And I was told, you need to go and see this doctor, and she did, and they found some stuff, but now she's good now that they kind of found it. So that kind of thing I definitely do pass on. But it's also tricky with that too, because some people are like, I guess they then choose what to do with that information themselves.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And you mentioned before that you like to put a protective bubble around you. I like to do the same thing. And I have had a lot of my Pass Around the Smile community ask me for more ways that they can protect themselves from negative energy from others. Like a lot of my community, they are a little woo-woo spiritual. They like the law of attraction and they believe in all of this stuff. I feel like it has become very common in our conversations that they have people that suck that out of them, and they all are like, give us more ways to like block this out. But is your way to, set boundaries and put a bubble around you?
Yeah. Those are my two top ways, because the bubble is just so simple. However, I will say that you need to create the bubble with intention. So intention is the strongest thing in like the world of energetics. So if you set the intention first, so for instance, I'll say I'm setting the intention that I'm going to create a bubble of peace and protection around myself, and that's what's creating that bubble, then you kind of imagine it around you. Intention is so strong. I always do intention before I connect with people in sessions too. So I'll be like, I intend to connect to, for instance, Cleo during the session and her guides and everything, because that, again, that intention opens up the channels and the way for it with the energy. So those are my top two. I mean, you can do other things too, like wearing certain crystals and that kind of thing. But those are the two that I'd probably use. And then just making sure that you cleanse yourself as well. Like that's another big thing, because as much as we protect ourselves, we still pick up stuff, and our own energies that we feel, of the thousands of emotions that we move through in a day, that can sometimes hang around us too. So making sure that you cleanse yourself is really important too.
Wow, thank you for that. So insightful, because I must admit, when I do my bubble for myself, sometimes it does really feel like powerful and that it's working. But now thinking about it, it's because I set an intention. But if I'm racing out of the house and I'm just putting a little bubble around my dog and not thinking about it's for safety, it's for love, I want you to feel calm and cool in this heat, then it doesn't. So thank you. Like that is so simple, but it's so not. So thank you for sharing that. I think that everyone's going to love that. And what about like intuition? I do believe that we are all intuitive beings. How would you say that we can connect to our intuition more?
So like you said, we're all intuitive. We actually are all psychic, because psychic is intuition, and it's just varying degrees of connecting into that intuition and that kind of foresight, I suppose. To strengthen it, practice. It is the biggest thing in the world, and it doesn't have to be massive things like on my Instagram at the moment, I'm doing lots of little what stone or what crystal is my hand in. what crystal is my hand in? What hand has the crystal in
Yes.
it? And or like what number is under this piece of paper? Like
So
doing
it's like
those kinds of
practicing
things.
little,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, a good way to do it, I tend to do it with myself still, is Sudoku. So I'll be like, I'll intuitively put a number in the square rather than actually working it out. And then I'll go through and see if it's right. So doing those kinds of
Wow.
things. Yeah, that's really cool. Trusting yourself when you have that gut instinct. So
Yes.
maybe you're like, okay, I've got this job offer. Oh, should I take it? No, I don't think I should. Oh, but I really should. Like, I know I should, but I don't want to. Trust that first instinct. So I always say, when you're tuning into something, the first answer that you hear, or the first gut response that you think, that's the correct one. It's the second one is when our ego steps in and starts to change it
Oh,
and starts to give us reasons why that shouldn't work, or that kind of thing. So yeah, just little things. The more you trust yourself and you find those answers, and maybe you're like, okay, no, I'm not going to accept that job, I feel like there's something better, and then like a month later a better one comes along, that gives you that evidence as well that,
yes.
I was right to trust that. So practicing building that trust and then having that evidence come in, yeah, that expands your intuition so much.
I needed to hear that. That
uh,
that is, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And even the little test, like if you like guess the number 3 and it's right, that's evidence. And you're like, oh, okay,
Exactly.
cool. My intuition is right. I'm doing good. So yeah,
Yeah, and
it
it
builds
doesn't
it.
have to always come down to, oh no, it was just a coincidence, or like,
Yes.
no, like coincidences aren't
Yeah.
coincidences. They're like, they're
Yeah,
synchronicities.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it's, yeah.
this is probably going a little bit off, but just as an example, I had this job offer come up to speak at like a event, and
Yeah.
only a week prior, I had kind of said to the universe, I was like, I really want, before I have this baby, like an opportunity to speak at a really cool event where I'm like
Mhm.
respected for what I do and I feel really cool to
Amazing.
have been asked. And then this offer came up, and
Yeah.
I really do, because I was thinking when you were talking, I really do think that when that came up, it all felt so right. It was on the last day
Mhm.
of what I'm planning to be like my maternity leave. So I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
all aligning. Like, it's right near my house.
Mm.
And then just this morning, they said they were going with someone else. And I'm like, what happens
Uh,
in that instance? Like, I definitely do know that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I will have gone into labor, or like maybe I will be too uncomfortable. I do
mhm.
know something better will come up, all of that. But when your gut says yes and then it's taken away from you, what are your
Mhm.
thoughts around that? Because I think that happens often.
Yeah, so usually I'll say, obviously, we all have free will. So it might have been the perfect situation for you in that moment. And again,
Mm,
timelines, they are changing ridiculously fast at the moment. So you might be like, yes, that is the right thing in this moment right now. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, actually, that doesn't feel
yes.
like it should be that anymore. And same goes for the other people that maybe were organizing it. They're like, no, no, I don't feel that's right. I would say probably 8 times out of 10, though, it's right for you in that moment. And then your spirit team or whoever are like, actually, I can see that maybe, yep, she may have baby then, or she's going to be super uncomfortable. So let's just
Yeah.
try and swing things around so that she is like happy at home or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I tend to look at it like, okay, yep, that was shit, but okay, I'm just gonna see why it happened. And usually we never see that reason until it's after, like, it's gone past and we can
Yes.
look back. Like losing my baby, I was like, okay, there was no way I was going to see anything good in that. And it
No.
wasn't until, that I sit here now and I'm like, without that, I wouldn't be here right now. So
Yeah.
it sometimes takes a long time to be able to see that. And sometimes you may not even see it until you're back in spirit. And then you're like, oh, I can see like all these little synchronicities and why that happened to lead me to that point. And
Wow.
yeah, so many things. And sometimes it is about a lesson that we need to learn as well. So maybe you
Yeah.
said yes and you were trusting your gut and that's perfect. And then they're like, okay, but we are just going to teach you a little bit around how to, I don't know, move through disappointment
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
that kind of thing too. And again, you don't know until you're
Yeah.
well past usually,
And
but in the moment, yeah.
yeah, I'll have to let you know what happens, because I have this
Yeah.
deep gut feeling that like it'll get to that date and I will be like, I
Yeah.
can't think of anything worse right now than standing up in front of 200 people,
Yeah.
putting makeup on, so I really do know that there's a reason. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
excited to see it. But yeah, I was just interested to know because my
Yeah.
gut said yes. So I was like, hang
Yeah.
on, you know.
Yeah. Was I right? Or yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, what's like a probably like your most common question you would say as a psychic that you get asked? Like, what do the majority of people just want to know or want that validation about?
Yeah. When. So
When timelines.
I guarantee, yeah, everyone wants to know when, and that's usually because we like to be in control.
Mhm.
We like to know, we like to plan, and that's usually the one thing that I'm like, I'm not going to give you that answer
Yeah.
because it can change so quickly. Um, Quite often they might give me a specific date and I'm just like, I'm not going to tell you
Yeah.
because, I never want to put people's like faith in that 100%, like I said, because things
Yeah.
can change. But
Mhm.
yeah, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna wait and see.
Yeah.
Other times they'll give me a time frame, so within the next 3 to 6 months or something like that. So I
Uh-huh.
will quite often do that because that gives me a good amount of time, even though I might see it on a specific day in that time. And a lot of the time too, finding out something and when it's going to happen, it's part of the journey, is letting go of
Yeah.
that control and surrendering and not knowing what's going to happen. Usually, yeah, thank you. And most of the time, that's part of our soul evolvement, is to
Mm.
just surrender and see when it happens. It might be because we've chosen that as a lesson or, whatever it is. But yeah, that is the biggest thing. Like, when am I going to get more money? When am I going to get this new car? When will we move? Yeah, it's usually to do around time. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, sorry, I'm just okay.
But
Yeah,
good, I
I
think
always
good
find that one
on you.
tricky.
Yeah, I think that's so nice and reassure. Like for me, when you had reached out to me and everything
Yeah,
in me screamed yes, I think it was because that is your energy and that is your intention around guiding people through what they are meant to hear. Is like you will give the information and you will guide and you will help people connect with themselves and their spirit babies or whatever they're wanting. But
yeah,
yeah, like I've been to psychics before that have told me like proper dates, and I just don't know if they have the best intentions, and like not the
yeah,
best intentions, but it doesn't leave me with like the best path because I'm like getting
yeah,
controlling or starting and then getting disappointed if it didn't happen.
yes,
So I love that
yeah,
you're saying that you can absolutely receive that information, but I think like good on you for having such a beautiful way of connecting with your clients where you will go, actually, I'm going to withhold that because you know it's
yeah,
for the best for them.
yeah,
Like I think good on
yeah.
you. I think so many people are going to want to come to you for
Thank
a
you.
session because I think that's rare. I think that's rare. Like I've had friends that have been like, I'm so scared by what I was told, And like I'm so into the law
Yeah,
of attraction that personally, if I was told, oh, something not great's coming up, or like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
on
yeah,
January the 2nd, like, just be careful. I would be accidentally
yes,
manifesting something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always, again, intention before I sit down and I intend to connect to someone, I always set the intention that I only bring through what we need to know for their highest good as well as my own, so that I'm not holding a bunch of heavy stuff that I can't like
Yes.
share or anything like that. So yeah, I only
Yes.
do it that way. And I think, we come to earth in order to move through our soul path and have these experiences and things like that. And there is ups and downs. There's going to be
Yeah.
stuff that is awful as well as stuff that's amazing, but
Mm.
part of that is our journey, and we're just here to help you support and give you some guidance to move through that, but we're not here to provide you with all of the answers.
Yes. And it's like life is supposed to be exciting. Like miracles are
Yes.
supposed to
Yeah.
happen and surprise us in the most beautiful way. Like, we don't have to know
Yes.
absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly.
do you have like a really cool kind of standout story that still amazes you as to something that you've kind of seen or brought in or?
So this is not stand out, but it's one that I always tell people, especially when they're like trying to learn to connect to spirit or, their own guides and stuff themselves.
Okay.
When I was first really intentionally doing that myself, I heard the word carrot and I was like, what? Like, that makes no sense. Like, I think I've just put that down because that's like what came into my head. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I must have made that up. Like, that's whatever. I'm going to write it down anyway. And then the very next day, my grandmother turned up at my doorstep without like any prior warning, and she'd made me a carrot cake. And I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, now I understand what carrot means. And I think a lot of the time when people have stories, even when I give people guidance and stuff, sometimes it's not going to resonate in that moment.
Yeah.
And then 6 months down the track, they're like, oh my God,
Yes.
that I know what that means now. And that's exactly what happened, or things like that. I had actually another lady that came through, and I connected to her dad, and he kept saying the key, and she's like, I don't know what that means, like I don't know if that's him, like there's no keys. And then about 3 months later, she connected to me again. She sent me a message and she's like, my mum, she found a key, and it opened a little jewelry box, and there was like a little message in there for her from him.
Stop.
And I was just like, oh, I got goosebumps again when she wrote it. I'm just like, okay, that's what that meant. And she's like, I thought you were crazy. She's like,
No
I thought you were
offense.
just making stuff up. Yeah. And she's like, but now I know. I'm like, oh, that's just. And so that happens too. Like, they'll give me a random word. Like, it takes a lot of energy for them to connect as well as like our own energy. And so sometimes they'll show me a picture, a car, and I'm like, okay, I have to try and decipher that.
Yes.
Or like the key, just one word. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but they're telling me key. So yeah, It can be. And like carrot. No, I like carrot. That's so random. But yeah.
I love that you shared that, because I hope it encourages people to not just dismiss the smaller or the weirder things, because like, you saw it, carrot came to you for whatever reason, and then this beautiful carrot cake was brought to you by someone so special. That is big. But I think a lot of us, we're like, oh no, it's just a coincidence, or oh, I've seen this, actually something really weird is happening to me at the moment. I haven't spoken to anyone about this except for Luke. But the other day, Mum and I were walking into the hospital for my appointment, and this lady, she was in a wheelchair, and a lady was wheeling her, and she said, stop to us, and we were like, oh yeah. And she's like, which one of you is Maggie? And we were like, oh. Sorry. She was like, a bit confused, and the lady said, oh, sorry, and kind of moved her on. It's like, that was weird, whatever. Anyway, moved on. Then literally it was the next day, someone had said Maggie in a conversation, and I just was like, okay, interesting. And then the next day I was on Pinterest and I was looking for inspo for a new project I'm doing, and the inspo was nothing to do with anything really, but there was in huge letters Maggie. And I was like, what the hell?
Oh my God.
I don't know what it means, so I'm like excited to know. I'm excited to see.
Oh wow. See, normally I would associate names that keep coming up with spirit babies. So it might be their way of showing that that's their soul name, and again, I very much tell people, even though maybe they're showing you this name, doesn't mean you have to call them that. You have free will, so you can call them something else. But quite often I notice that. So.
Do you know what's just so funny though is I have quite a bad phobia of magpies. And I've always hated. I actually think the name Maggie is really cute, but it terrifies me. And
because of that association.
Yes, and the even more weird thing was that where we were walking and the lady in the wheelchair, there's always a magpie sitting on that fence, and I always look out for it. and am scared. And that's when she said it to me. And I'm like, God, please don't start showing me magpies as signs, because I'm not going to take it well.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Yeah. And it might be too that they're just like, yep, here, like, we're just giving you a little warning.
Jesus.
Get used to it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I find that with spirit too, like, you can very much guess at what they're trying to show us, and it's not until it really clicks that you're like, okay, now it all makes sense. And until that point, it's just like, I can only think about it. So
I want more.
yeah.
I'm like very open. I'm like, universe, show me more. Unless it's a real freaking magpie, do not show me.
Yeah.
The word is fine. Maggie is okay.
Yeah.
So, oh God, this has been such a good chat. So
I find with names too, sorry, I'm just going to jump in,
Yeah.
that when we're in spirit, like, and quite often or like babies in spirit, I will see a gender. But they can choose to come through as a different gender too. So, you know, most of us have had many lifetimes.
Yeah.
And so the gender that they may be showing me is what they're intending to come through, but it might not be actually what they come through in the end. So it might be that that's what they were in the last life and they're comfortable in that form or that energy, or it may be that they're quite a feminine energy and they're just going to have an experience in a male body this time around and things like that. So I just thought, I'd just throw that in, because I'm still not telling you what your baby is. But when I was talking about spirit baby names, I was like, no, wait, that's, I wasn't specifically meaning.
Yeah, that's interesting though. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so now that you're kind of talking to me, even though we aren't in a psychic session, we're doing a podcast. Are my spirit babies around, or do you have to you're nodding. Oh my God.
No. Yeah. Because I had already set the intention before jumping on. That was like why I was a minute late, because I was like, I need to quickly connect and whew. Yeah. So no, they've been around the whole time. The little one inside your belly is just like so excited to be here. Just so excited. And I think you're going to be best friends with your dog.
Stop.
Best friends.
Stop. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. I can't wait to tell Luke that. That is, oh my God, that is so special.
I keep seeing this image of your baby on top of your dog, like literally trying to ride it. Like, and your dog's like not bothered. It's just like, cool.
I love that.
They're here again. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Thank you for that. Oh, it's just so magical that for my listeners, when I was in my session with Kylie, you actually feel like you are properly communicating or getting messages from your babies, whether you're pregnant or not. It was a really intense, cool, incredible experience. And I do really recommend, if you are pregnant, I've shared on my podcast how disconnected I was. And after this session, I was like, oh my God, I do. There is a soul. There's a soul there. And it's really, really cool. Oh my God. Yeah. And so changing topics a little bit here just before we finish up. I'm very transparent with my Pass Around the Smile community. So I thought it might be cool if you could share any wisdom that you have around Pass Around the Smile and the energy there, what might be coming up. And then as a community, we can kind of hear this and then down the track kind of look back.
You're like, oh yeah, that's what she said. Oh yeah, it's happened. So I very, very much feel it's going to expand. Your business is going to expand even more. I definitely feel there's going to be little what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, thank you. Expansion in terms of what you supply. And I feel that's products. And I do very much feel that will almost happen when baby is here too, because you'll suddenly be like, oh, okay, I can see other ways to support women that maybe are mothers or about to have babies or that are just had babies and things like that. I feel there's some expansion there. I also feel that there's collaboration coming too between you, and I actually feel there will be two specific collaborations.
Oh my gosh.
I think one will be around another set of cards.
Oh my God. My community going to get so excited.
Yeah. So I definitely feel one of them's around cards. I'm not sure what the other one is, but they're kind of showing me the first one's in front and the other one's behind. So I think maybe the cards will be first, and then the other person may step in to do something else.
Okay.
I also very much feel that you're going to employ people. I think I may have said that in
You did.
the spirit. Yeah, I was like, no, there's definitely people coming on board. Just a lot of expansion and a lot of collaboration seems to be a big one.
That's exciting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, another set of cards. I don't know what kind of cards, but there you go.
That is really exciting. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh my gosh, yay. That was just, oh gosh, everyone's going to love this episode. I already can't wait to edit it just so I can listen back. Tell us where we can find you, your website, your socials, and kind of like what you do offer. Because you are in New Zealand, but you offer Zooms.
Yes, I am in New Zealand. Yeah. So all of my sessions are over Zoom. I don't know why, but most of my clients, I would say probably 90% of my clients are based in Australia. So I'm like, I work mainly over Zoom. I'm actually coming over to Brisbane at the end of April, and I've got some in-person sessions then. So I'm doing that then.
Wow.
But yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, which I think is Kylie Stewart DLB. So my little bit soul-led business is Divine Light and Balance. And you can also, that's just the website as well. So www.divinelightandbalance.com. And I obviously offer spirit baby readings. I offer general guidance readings. A lot of the times on my stories as well, I'll chuck up like a 1 question offer as well for quite a low price, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are struggling financially and things like that. So, I pop that up. I do womb healing, which is all about clearing out your womb of any blockages or any trauma, trapped emotions and things like that. And I'm a Reiki master as well, so I do all of that. Yeah.
What can't you do? And I'll also put all of those links in the show notes, so you guys don't have to remember it. They'll be all in the show notes. And I did want to say too, definitely follow Kylie on Instagram, because as you mentioned before, you're starting to do the little practicing of the intuition.
Yes.
I am so going to jump on that, because what a good exercise just to keep you connected. What a good idea.
Yeah, I was like, people are always asking how can they do it. So I'm like, right, I'm just going to pop one up every week, and then they can do it and practice. And
Oh, wow. So thank you so much, Kylie, for all of your energy and your love. Welcome. And I know people are going to love this chat.
Oh, good. Yay. Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love it.
You are so awesome. Welcome. Thank you.
Yay. You're welcome.